Hello folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Brian. It's again a hot day here in Dallas. I thought it was going to get cooler, but it's in the 90s, but we won't touch on the brutal heat here. This will be video number 2 in the series of this 2020 Ducati Monster 821 that I just purchased probably now about 5 days ago. I want to touch base. I just got finished riding, and I have been riding it more typically at night. I'm just going to share, if you're looking at these Monsters, you know, the one, they have a newer one now. It started out in 2021 and 2022 that got away with the trellis frame. It's quite a bit thinner. It's shaped a little bit different. I mean, pretty much everything on it is different. The swing arm, I mean, it's a completely different bike. So I haven't ridden that one, but this one is so hot to ride. I'm going to try to be positive because there's a lot of positive things about this bike. Step on my weed eater back here. A lot of positive things, but I'm just going to get off my chest the negative things right now, and I'll try not to dwell on that. But this motorcycle is so difficult to ride. If it's you know, probably in the 80s and 90s, 100s, no, you're not going to ride. Don't ride it. If it's in the 90s, man, it's pretty brutal. If you're on, you know, a lot of videos on YouTube are people over in Europe, and I mean, it's just a whole different environment over there. It seems like it's cooler. You know, I can't say right now because I don't go over there often. But it's cooler, the roads are more open, there's not nearly enough traffic. Dallas, Texas, I got stuck at every light, and my temperature on the bike would climb up into close to 217 degrees. And it's just radiating heat. And I have jeans on, my riding jacket, my gloves, my helmet is soaked, my gloves, my jacket, my shirt is soaked, and it's like 91 today, or even 89. It's just so hot, and this bike just radiates. I mean, just floods the rider with heat. That is a pretty negative thing. I've never experienced that on any of my Japanese bikes. My SV650S that had a large portion of the frame open. I rode it all year round for years, and I don't ever remember being punished as bad about the heat. Now I'm older. I mean, that was probably in my late 30s, and now I'm in my 50s. So it could just be my body's different now, and that's, you know, very easily that could be the case. But very, very hot, very, very hot. And this bike does not like to cruise at around 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 RPMs, no matter, you know, what gear you're in at that RPM range. It gets a little herky-jerky, it's a little rough, it's a very mechanical experience, but, you know, that's what Ducati people love about these Ducati motorcycles, is their personality. So don't get me crossed up on, you know, I love the bike for what it is, but there's just moments where you kind of wish that you had something a little bit different. I'm very happy with the bike. I'm very excited to have it, and I love the machine. I don't want to get rid of it, and I'm not disappointed with my purchase. But there are some shortcomings, and I don't think that this bike is for a beginner really at all. You know, they tout this kind of as a beginner bike. There's the smaller 790 something version, and that I mean, that's almost identical. It's just probably the ECU mapping is different, you know, a little less power, a little less grunt, but the bike's just more top heavy. It's a substantial bike, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's substantial, but I am getting more used to it now as I'm riding. I feel like I want to hammer it a lot more and it's haul ass around traffic. And so I'm definitely warming up to it, but it's very top heavy, and I mean, maybe that'll change in another month because it is getting more nimble. It is a nimble bike, but it feels like a pretty big bike with that big tank in front of you. Also too, before I forget, I mean, what kind of got me back into wanting to get back into motorcycles, because I ride mountain bikes and I ride my electric Sur-On, which is so much fun, and I do a lot of content on my car, or I used to. My Q50 3.0T turbo rear wheel drive, I had a lot of fun with that. But what kind of got me back into wanting to look at motorcycles, it's very interesting, was the Aprilia RS 660, and then the more naked version with a little bit more upright position. And I'm drawing a blank. It starts with a T. Ciano, or I don't know why I can't think of it right now. But those are the two versions. And I went and looked at them. They were 2022. A lot of reliability issues still, even in 2021. It's just riddled with leaks and recalls and things. And so I figured 2022, it's got to be fixed. But I think they're still having teething problems with that bike. But I went and sat on one. We only have one really close, semi-close Aprilia dealership, and I went and sat on both of those bikes, and the RS was still just a little bit more leaned over for me. I'm just 52, or going to be 52, and I just don't want to lean over a whole lot. You're still just a little bit, maybe by 2 inches or an inch leaned over on this one, but on the RS 660, the Aprilia, it was quite a bit more. And then the version, and I hate not being able to pronounce or tell you the one that starts with, it's like TONUO. That one, the tank was just like, it was literally like twice as big as this one, it felt like. And it was just, bars were really wide. It just didn't feel right. I just didn't get the initial groove that I'd get on it, and I was going to pay $13,000 or $14,000 and be super excited about it. So I walked away from the Aprilia, and that's when I remembered the Ducati Monster, is a more upright position. I was like, man, maybe I should go check those out again, and I did, and that's how I came upon this one. But don't let me dwell too much on the negatives. This is just going to be an awesome bike to ride when it's cold. 40, 50, 60s. Perfect, man. You got a heat source to keep this portion of your body warm, and it'll be so much fun. And I will say this bike is a lot of fun. 2022, you can't really get a good deal on anything, but I think I came out okay. But let me show you all the custom parts this bike has on it that the gentleman that originally bought this bike as the new owner, he put on here. And I think it's really cool, and that's one of the reasons that I just think this looks so great, and I wanted to get it because of the parts, okay? Hang tight. Bear with me because I'm going hands-on with the camera. First off, a little tank pad. I usually make my own, and they cover better, and I can custom shape it, with like 3 mil or 5 mil, sheets of protective, 3M. Of this clear coat, or clear tape that I put on. But this one has the Ducati tank pad, and those are probably $45. All this stuff adds up. And so then that was on there. And I'm not real sure, but the rear portion of the seat cowling comes on there. I don't know enough that they come stock on this bike, but on all the other bikes, you have to purchase those, and they're between $200 and $250. So this one comes on there, and if you're don't know, you can take this cover off, and there's the rear seat under there, and so you can ride with the passenger. I'm very rarely going to ride with a passenger, but so I like the seat cowling on there. And then also too, I've mentioned the Rizoma spools, swing arm spools there, so you can put your track stand, and you can lube your chain, tighten your chain, and do that type of maintenance on there. Those were like $45 or $50. So that was on the bike. And then the Terminioni exhaust. Let me just tell you a little bit more about that. I touched that base on that on the first video. Terminioni typically makes really full exhaust, all titanium, and they're between $4,500 to $6,000, and they're carbon fiber canisters, titanium. On this bike, because the headers were so well designed, Terminioni would almost make the exact same shape and size, diameter of the header, the front header pipes there. So when they made this, there was no advantage that they could come up with of making their own. And so this is considered a slip-on. It gets rid of this big baffle system that comes on bikes for to emissions and to keep sound down and meet EPA requirements, and so that restricts the exhaust. So this exhaust is a slip-on, and it bypasses that section of the exhaust, so it's a lot more free-flowing. And then again, this bike is pretty loud, and finally was able to get the inserts back from the previous first owner, and I'm probably going to be installing those back in to the ends of the exhaust right there. And they just slip in, and there's a screw that goes in on the side. But also too, it's got the fender eliminator and the LED lights back here, and that is pretty cool. Those are probably $200, $150. And so that's money that I would save, that I would probably want to put on. And that's also too, I mean, this is small, but there's a cool little cap on Ducati, little cap on the brake reservoir there. That's just a nice little touch. And then also he added the front little fairing, instrument fairing there, that just gives you a little bit more wind protection, and it makes it kind of look more Street Fighter-ish, in my personal opinion. And kind of just makes it look a little more streamlined. But there is the little cowl or fairing for the instrument cluster, and kind of gives you a little bit more wind protection, still not a lot. But those are everything, if I can remember, that are added to this 2020 Ducati Monster 821. But those things will add up to, probably about $3,000. What I want to add is a Ducati quick shifter, up and down blipper and speed shifter there, clutchless shifter, and that's probably $290, $300. It's something I just got to work in and then get that put on. And then also too, maybe, just maybe, because my hands aren't terribly small, I want to possibly get an adjustable clutch lever there. It's not bad right now, but I can reach it, but it would be nice, because I don't have monster hands, to be able to have that adjusted probably about right there where it sits, and not sits out that way. So that would be nice to have. The front brake is adjustable, and it's adjustable right here, and so you can move that in and out, so that's not needed. Clutch levers and a brake lever adjustable, say Rizoma, is about $289. So pretty dang expensive if you ask me for levers. But that's everything. Shifting on this bike, as I mentioned in the first video, shifting is good. It shifts well, into neutral down to first and the second. I don't really have any complaints about it. It shifts well, but it is kind of notchy, in down below 3,000 RPMs, and it shifts into neutral pretty well. It's just, it's very mechanical, and that's what Ducati enthusiasts like about this bike. So don't let me turn you off by saying some of these things, because these are the things that make a Ducati. Just the very mechanical. It's not a numb feeling at all. You can feel everything, and again, that is attributed to what Ducati riders like. They like to feel what the bike is doing. They like to feel the gears and the vibration. So it just depends on what type of rider you are. But I won't make the video too long. Also, let me just tell you, this bike had on these EOTech frame sliders, and they mounted right here and here, and it was a big aluminum bar, and the big frame, the hockey puck frame slider was right there, more to protect the bike if it got knocked over. And those were driving me nuts. They're about $320 US dollars to buy that. They're really nice, heavy duty, but they hit me in the soft part of my knee right here. My leg comes down and my knee rests and then arcs down to the foot peg right there. And so my knee was it was driving me freaking nuts. And the Ducati people the finance person who rides at Ducati AMS. I mean, he's not just a finance guy. He's an enthusiast and a rider, and was a police officer, and all kinds of cool things, you know, and served in Iraq. He told me that he was the first thing, he goes, you need to remove those, because if you get in an accident or your bike falls over, you have the potential to damage where the trellis frame and the sliders attach to the motor, because they attach to the motor. They bolt right into the motor, and he says you will damage, high possibility that you will damage the motor, you know, because there's a part of the motor there that it mounts up to. But just to reiterate that, and he says you can damage that, and to fix it, it would be much easier to just fix the tank, or, you know, fix superficial details, but not have to go in and replace part of the motor to fix that. So those came off, and I'm very happy, because it's so much better to ride with those taken off. And I'll show you a picture of those, and you can check those out. I'm not saying don't get them, but just weren't for me. But that is it. Awesome bike. Like I said, I'm getting more riding it and feeling comfortable. The brakes, the front brakes are phenomenal. And you'll always hear that from people that review this bike. Again, this one's mine. I own this. I'm stuck with it. The brakes, the front brakes are just freaking phenomenal compared to any bike I've had, and even my motocross bikes that I've upgraded the disc size and the rotors and the pads. These are pretty phenomenal front brakes, and it needs it, because it's a big bike. It's a big, heavy bike, and got to have really good brakes. And they are not the brakes are these are kind of a downgrade, you know, as far as you know, the S models and some of the higher end Ducatis will get a hydraulic clutch and a hydraulic brake, but it's kind of like a radial brake. And I may be just off on my terminology right now, but it'll have a little gray cup, or you know, a see-through cup with a little metal lid on it, and then it has a different setup for the brake. This is kind of a downgrade, but still much better than most of your bikes that you will get brakes on. So phenomenal brakes. I can't even imagine how much 10% more better braking would be on this bike. It would just be literally almost dangerous, because you touch the brake and you go over the handlebars. It's really good. Modulation's really good, bite's really good. But that is my, I'm going to finish up. This is my little bit of my ownership experience and with my 2020 Ducati Monster 821, and obviously, and it's in the red version, which is just really good. People look at this bike like it's an alien or from a different planet, and it's very cool. So thanks for viewing. Look forward to more content. I appreciate you stopping by, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to be notified of future videos, then click that notification bell. Also too, AMS Ducati includes, on every bike they sell, they include a battery tender on every bike. And just alone this year in 2022, they've sold over 500 motorcycles. So that's 500 of these that get wired to the battery, and then you can hook up your battery tender. And I have a battery tender, not because of this motorcycle, but I have one, and it plugs into the wall, and when you don't ride your bike in the winter, this will save your battery and keep your battery charged and maintained, and it just plugs into the wall. And then you come in and it just connects, a quick connect to this fast connection right here, male and female, and then you go and put the cap back on so you don't get moisture and stuff in there, but it's zip tied. Really neat, all their bikes. So that's it. Have a great day. Thanks for, again, tuning in. Bye-bye.